NASA is back at it again with their secrets and mysteries. If you gotta take a leak, I suggest you do it now before we get into NASA's leaks that they definitely didn't want the public to see, because trust me, you're not gonna wanna miss these. Up first on our list, we have the recent discovery of something incredibly strange found on the side of the International Space Station. Buckle up. In October of 2023, a leak was detected in the station's backup radiator, which forced Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko to strap on a spacesuit and take a zero-gravity walk outside to try and figure out what was causing the issue. When the 59-year-old space enthusiast arrived at the radiator panel, he made a shocking discovery. It appeared as though a series of sporadic holes had been drilled onto the panel. Oleg reported his findings and then began tending to the leak, collecting those loose liquids through a suction tool, until all of a sudden he noticed a strange globule of what appeared to be coolant make its way onto his safety tether. He relayed the event to Moscow Mission Control, who responded demanding that he return to the interior of the ISS immediately. While it was most likely just an anti-gravity ball of coolant, we really have no idea what the mysterious glob was. Furthermore, and perhaps even more concerning, scientists, astronomers, astronauts, and cosmonauts alike are completely baffled as to what caused the leak in the first place and left behind a collection of deep holes in the panel's surface. Next on our list, we have radio, transmitted, and laser messages received by NASA coming from deep space. The communications took place for the first time in November of 2023 and have continued into this year after NASA launched the Psyche spacecraft out in the hopes of locating a comet by the same name. As the spacecraft moves along its journey, it has been in frequent communication with NASA officials on the ground. The first communication came in the form of a deep space optical communication, a laser signal, and was detected from 10 million miles away from Earth. On January 1st of this year, NASA researchers were able to use radio frequencies on the spacecraft at 20 million miles away to download a photograph of the Psyche team at a rate of 15.36 megabytes per second, which is 40 times faster than the standard radio frequency. The hope for Psyche is that it will be able to remain in communication with the Earth even at a distance of 2.5 times that of our Sun, which would be about 186 miles as it continues its search for its namesake comet. Next up, we have the long-awaited release of legitimate UFO findings taken by US Navy pilots, and they were declassified by the Pentagon in early 2023. Among the releases were two videos depicting multiple UFOs or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. The first of which was taken in South Asia on the 15th of January and depicts an unidentified aerial presence moving at speeds unreachable by any known aircraft in commission to date. Not only that, but as the object whizzed through the field of view of the camera lens, it appeared to have left behind some kind of atmospheric wake before it disappeared completely into the sky. The next video showcased a suspicious object after it had been seen dropping 80 feet from the sky right down to the surface of the ocean in record-breaking time. The pilot who filmed the UAP reported that the waters which the object had come close to appeared to have been boiling. When the possible extraterrestrial spacecraft finally came back into view, it was captured hovering above the water and then disappearing swiftly into the atmosphere, leaving behind no wake in the oceans below, despite its close proximity to the water during its acceleration. As the name implies, to this day the objects seen in these videos remain completely unidentified and a total mystery. Next up, we have the leaked, top-secret United States intelligence documents that were obtained and summarized by the Washington Post on April 27th of 2023. The documents revealed United States concerns about rival space threats in regards to modern warfare. With space technology becoming as advanced as it has in the past few years, the United States is concerned with how other countries, including China, might integrate those advances into their military and defense systems. In one of the leaked documents, this worry was highlighted when it was said that China had developed the capacity to put United States and allied space assets at risk. A corresponding document had also stated that if the China-Taiwan conflict were to escalate, the United States fears that China would exercise their capacity and begin targeting the atmospheric assets as a way to deter Taiwanese allies from coming to their aid. Up next, at our halfway point today, we have the Apollo 1 fire, which occurred on January 27th in 1967 and is forever earmarked as the first of many incredibly dark days in NASA's controversial history. The fire took place during a pre-flight test for the spacecraft, during which a flash fire broke out inside the command module, likely sparked by an electrical short that took place under one of 3 astronaut on board's footrests. The capsule in which Gus Griswold tourism, Edward White and Roger Chafe were seated in excited anticipation was filled with pure oxygen, making the environment highly combustible. When the module sparked, the area was engulfed in flames, and due to the nature of the exits, the three men were unfortunately unable to escape and passed inside the ship, leading to the extreme government scrutiny of the space agency along with public outrage and demands for significant design and engineering modifications in regards to safety. Next on our list, we have the incredibly imbecilic incident in which a simple mistake caused $193.1 million and countless hours of work spent on an orbital satellite to go quickly, swiftly, and embarrassingly down the drain. The incident occurred in 1993 when NASA, in partnership with Lockheed Martin Astronautics, designed and built the Mars Climate Orbiter, a 338-kilogram robotic spacecraft designed to investigate climate on Mars by collecting data from the planet's surface and atmosphere. Now here's where things get dumb. The mission was a complete failure due to nothing other than the fact that the engineers working at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory used the metric system of meters and millimeters, while at the Lockheed Institute they used feet, inches, and pounds. Because of this, the orbiter's measurements were way off, and upon arrival at Mars, which I'm surprised it even made it to, the spacecraft became too close to the planet's atmosphere, which caused it to burn up and completely disintegrate. I mean, I know it's rocket science, but come on, guys. Next up, we have another great example of how NASA essentially just bleeds money because of the most basic mistakes. In this case, an extra $50 million had to be spent fixing an error made on a mirror attached to the Hubble Space Telescope after they had already spent almost $1.5 billion to build it, and after they'd already sent it into space. The issue was brought to light when the incredibly advanced telescope designed to capture high-quality images of distant stars and galaxies was sending back blurry ones that looked more like they had been taken with an old Nokia than a $1.5 billion piece of space equipment. It was quickly determined that the reason for these lackluster images was a manufacturing error, which had produced one of the telescope's light-reflecting mirrors incorrectly. A simple miscalculation had led to the curve of the mirror being completely incompatible with the rest of the telescope. In order to fix this very expensive mistake, a correction team was sent to the telescope where they installed a series of small mirrors designed to correct the flaws in the original. Luckily, the mission was a complete success, and since then the Space Telescope has become one of the most precise and productive observatories in our planet's history. Next on the list, we have a devastating tragedy that resulted in the deaths of 7 individuals and a 29-month suspension of the NASA Space Shuttle program and a serious reevaluation of procedures. The event took place on February 1st of 2003 after Space Shuttle Columbia had been sent to the Hubble so that its team could perform yet another servicing of the telescope, in this case replacing an aging power control unit, removing and installing solar arrays, and conducting instrumental upgrades. The mission seemed like a success until Columbia began its re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, during which the space shuttle disintegrated, ending the lives of all 7 astronauts aboard the ship. Another tragic day in NASA's history that holds many similarities to a previous disaster that took place just 17 years prior, in which the 7 astronauts of the Challenger met a similar fate shortly after takeoff. The shuttle disintegrated in an explosion, most likely caused by a failed O-ring seal on one of the solid rocket boosters. While the news of these kind of accidents are definitely not something NASA as a company wants to be making headlines, it's incredibly important that the public have access to this information so that we're able to push for more extensive testing of spacecrafts and much better safety precautions on future expeditions. Okay, you guys, for these last 2 points, we're gonna air out the room a little bit and do a complete 180 because I want to leave you on a high note. So starting off our top 2 today, we have the fact that astronauts actually drink their own pee. No, I'm not making this up. I suppose when you are sitting some 250 miles away from the nearest oceans or streams, liquids tend to be in short supply. So naturally, NASA figured out a way to recycle urine into fresh drinking water for the cosmonauts and astronauts aboard the ISS, the International Space Station. If you're drinking lemonade right now, you might want to put it down as I explain this next part. The ISS residents' urine is distilled through a process called the urine processor assembly, in which vacuum distillation is used to gather the water from the waste, leaving behind something called urine brine. I actually cannot believe my job has me talking about fractionated pee right now, but hey, all in the name of entertainment, right? I'd cheers to that, but not right now. And finally, for our last point today, we have something that might just be more out there than our last point, if that's even possible. I don't know, I'll leave it up to you. How do I phrase this? Have you ever wanted to do it on the moon? Well, if you have, you'll probably think this next guy is a complete legend because while he didn't actually do it on the astronomical body of the moon, Thad Roberts certainly had an astronomical experience with a body on 600 pounds of moon rocks that he had stolen from the NASA space agency. 600 pounds of moon rocks valued at $21 million, by the way. That's like committing grand larceny 4,200 times and then doing it on the loot. The worst part of all this is that the moon rocks were supposed to be studied by scientists, but it seems his specimen ruined their specimen. Roberts was charged and convicted for his crimes, sentenced to 100 months, 8 years in federal prison. Upon release, Roberts promised to keep his hands and other things off of the space agency's important artifacts, but he also made a point to say that he in no way regretted his actions. Alright you guys, thank you so much for joining me on this wild journey of ups and downs, laughs and tears. I've been your host Hannah Thompson, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.